sir, can you tell me why we gathered here today?
We gather here today as a regiment, as the 1st Marine Regiment, to do a Battle Colors rededication ceremony. The battle streamers that you see on the Marine Corps flag that the regiment carries, each symbolizes an honor and award that the regiment has received over the period of its 80 or 90-year history. So today we gathered as an entire regiment to rededicate each streamer one at a time to reflect and remember those who went before us and the legacy they created.
Why is it important for every Marine in the regiment to come out here and be a part of this this commemoration?
We have a proud legacy as Marines, and Marines know it in general across the board. So for instance, every Marine is taught in boot camp about Chesty Puller, and he's one of the more famous Marines. What some of these Marines probably aren't aware of is that Chesty Puller was made famous in his command of this regiment. So we gather here for these young Marines to reflect on that entire legacy, to remind them that they come from something, from a history within the Marine Corps, this specific unit that they have to carry forward. And what I ask of them is to rededicate themselves, the core values, honor, courage, and commitment, to carry that legacy forward in the future, to honor those who did it in the past.
Hi, sir. Now, can you tell me something about your history? Were you with 1st Marine Regiment in the past? Sir?
I just took command of 1st Marine Regiment in the summertime in June of 2012. So I've had command about 6 or 7 months. The regiment returned from Afghanistan in September of 2011, so they had been back for 7 or 8 months. And that was the last combat deployment of the regimental headquarters. They were led by Colonel Dave Furness, and they deployed to the southern Helmand River Valley and conducted combat operations there for about 12 months.
Sir, well, were you with any battalions?
Prior to taking command of 1st Marine Regiment, it's one of those things that's very nice about the Marine Corps. Sometimes you have a place that you call home. For me, home is 1st Marine Regiment. I came in to the Marine Corps in 1989 when I graduated from the Infantry Officer Course, and I was assigned here to 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, here at Camp Horno. And then I came back 6 or 7 years later as a company commander and commanded in 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. And so when I had the opportunity to command a regiment, it was like coming home for Christmas, because it's where I really have my history and my tradition in the Marine Corps.
Outstanding. So when you were placed with 3-1 as your 1st regiment, did you ever stop and think about some of the history that 3-1's been through, some of the lineage, and sort of a chance to appreciate?
When I was a brand new 2nd lieutenant, I walked in 1989 into 3-1, and I didn't understand much of their history. And I think a lot of the portions of that, Marines, as me as a brand new 2nd lieutenant, you understand the broad Marine Corps history, but you don't necessarily understand the specific history of your battalion. So that's something that I learned in the tradition of the battalion, and the pause and the reflection on it. And what we're trying to do now as a regiment is to engage our young Marines. So each Marine, each one of the battalions understands the history and tradition of that battalion, and they understand the overall history and tradition of the regiment. So again, you reflect on where you are and who came before you, and then that commits you to carrying that honor forward into the future.
Can you explain that a little more, sir? How does sort of reflect on where you came from make you a better Marine, and just maybe even a better leader in general? Well,
I think what's happened over the last 10 years or so, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, since 9/11, so the American public has become very committed to the U.S. military in a very overt way, doing all types of things and engaging units and individual Marines and doing great things. And that's really increased the bond that we have between battalions, individual Marines, and the community at large. We have cities that are sponsoring some of the battalions here at 1st Marine. So they have a sponsored city like Laguna Niguel that sponsors 1st Battalion, 4th Marines. So what we're trying to do is re-engage the piece that's associated with the history of the Marine Corps. And so events like this, we try to get older Marines in, Marines who have served in Korea, Marines who have served in Vietnam, to talk to these young Marines and help them reflect on what they did during that time frame and how challenging it was. And I think that reaches into the soul of a Marine and says, hey, I have to do just as good, if not better, to carry on that tradition.
Right. Seems like we're closing a book on a generation of of Marines as we transition out of Afghanistan?
We are, and as we look at Afghanistan and we look at the conclusion of, I guess it'll be about, next year will be about 13 years worth of war that the Marine Corps has been committed to and supporting. And so it's almost a chapter that you see about to close. And as that chapter closes, we want to secure them in the Marines' mind at 1st Marine Regiment, their contribution to that history and that tradition, that lineage of 1st Marines. And then call forward the challenge of the next chapter, and who knows what that next chapter will bring. But we look forward as a regiment to having opportunity to close that out, to help close that piece out in Afghanistan when the time comes, and then opening the next chapter whenever the call comes.
Outstanding. Sir, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
No. Again, and we set this up, and we didn't invite a big crowd, and we didn't call for general officers to come and family members to come or anything else. We came in as a small group of the regiment, and I told my Marines, you know, this is for us. This is our internal thing. It's our pause, our reflection on who we are and what we need to do in order to be better Marines and better members of 1st Marine Regiment. So, as we step off out of here, hopefully in a short 30-minute ceremony, the Marines have an opportunity to think through that, and they walk forward more committed to doing well and proud legacy that Chesty Puller made famous with 1st Marine Regiment.